If you like your theology hot, caffeinated, and stimulating, pour yourself a second cup of your favorite beverage and sit down with me, Keith Giles, as we explore topics like hell, the second coming, biblical inerrancy, women in the Bible, deconstruction, penal substitution, and so much more. In the brand new book, Second Cup with Keith, available now on Amazon.
Welcome to the Unbelief Podcast, your journey, actually our journey together beyond inherited beliefs to a spirituality that works for you. I'm your host, Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. We can fix that later, right? No? Damn. Welcome to the Unbelief Podcast. I am Jeremy.
And I am Gabby.
And Gabby, Virginity rocks.
Yay.
Yeah. I remember actually hearing that at church as a thing in one of these purity culture nights. You also...
So you heard it at church. I saw that phrase being worn on t-shirts and sweatshirts. So
you are getting like anybody you knew?
Yes, actually. Virginity is such a big deal that one was proud if they were still a virgin. So yeah, I had a friend who literally wasn't even given to them at like a social event or like a youth group or anything. They just went and bought it online. And the phrase just said Virginity rocks, and they wore that proud. And this was when I was in college, like at Ohio State on campus,
Ohio
just wearing
State.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm sure that person
that's
got
a choice.
judged. Yeah, definitely was a choice.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about virginity, like in this sort of oppressive construct and all of that, as well as sort of our experiences of that and deconstructing from that ourselves. And so I guess sort of to get into that, Gabby, what was your experience with this idea of virginity? And let's just say it's an idea. It has no biological basis. We'll get to that. But yeah, what was your, where did you encounter this in the evangelical Christian church?
Oof, where did I encounter it? Yeah, I mean, this is something that's, I feel like so heavily talked about. I mean, I attended Bible study like every Thursday night for 4 years at Ohio State. And I remember a lot of sermons about being pure and, you're supposed to wait until marriage, right? And supposed to be a virgin. Like you're not supposed to be untouched and clean. And so that was something I aspired to be. And I was like, okay, if I want to be pure for Jesus and for my future partner, my future husband, I need to be a virgin, right? I need to not have sex. Like I idealize this a lot in my walk with God and in my life. And then, surprise, I didn't wait. I ended up having sex with someone that I really felt like I was in love with at the time. But I felt, first of all, it took me a lot to even get there because I was like, no, I have to be a virgin. I have to wait till marriage, of course. And it was a constant guilt cycle. Like even if we go do a little bit, we'd kiss and hold hands, and then things went further on. I would always feel bad. And then I kept setting boundaries to be like, we're going to progress further, and then I'm going to not be pure anymore. And like, I can't have that. Yeah. And then of course the day came where I did have sex. And the minute after I started bawling my eyes out in front of this guy, and he was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I just did the worst thing.
So I guess he wasn't like a conservative Christian.
He was a Hindu man who also, like in their religion, I guess, believe you're supposed to wait until marriage. But so I guess he didn't care as much. This was like such a, I think more pressure because I'm also a woman and like what it means to be, pure as a woman. And so I remember just being so distraught after, like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, that's it. Like, it's over. I'll never be a virgin again. Like, So it was really hard to grapple with. Cause then oh my God, I struggled with the shame after that. And then, I became a born again virgin after, as we were waiting after that. Yeah.
Right.
So cringe, but
gosh.
yes.
Yeah. And it's so weird to me because my experience of it was very much, in practice, it was a double standard, right? They did not, like people who preached about it, talked about it when we were in the sexual purity Bible study. It was very much that everybody needs to be a virgin. But once that was done, the males went back to toxic masculinity where people would make jokes with the sort of punchline is like, you're a virgin, right? Or you'll be a virgin forever, or, those kind of things. And that was like in a church setting.
Wow.
Which I think though, like culturally, even still, I'm curious what you think. Because you're a woman. I am not a woman. And, but culturally, I feel like still there is this double standard that men are expected to sleep around. And it's sort of a badge of honor. It's part of it, sort of toxic masculinity that like, ooh, I've had a lot of partners. Whereas women are expected maybe not to be virgins, except for in these sort of really conservative circles, but they're expected to have less partners. And if they have too many partners, I don't know where that threshold is, but then they become a slut.
Sorry, you said women, right? Yeah. Yes. I mean, this to me is like, it feels very much definitely like a double standard. I mean, I think culturally it's expected that men will have multiple partners, and like there's kind of like you got another one, like congrats, right? But then it's every time a woman, but who are they sleeping with? Like a woman. But so then when a woman now is having sex, it's kind of just like, yeah, so you're a whore. So
right.
And it's just like,
I don't ever experienced that directly. Has anybody ever treated you that way? Or have you seen, like, have you been in a room where like somebody was saying that?
So there's two things here, I will say. Oh my God. There was a guy that there's actually two men. So at the point that I was trying to date someone, and these are both Christians, by the way, they had asked me if I was a virgin. And I said, honestly, I'm not. And he was like, oh, well, I don't like that answer. And I never asked him, are you a virgin? I didn't ask this, but like, why was this even a question when we were trying to like date and why, like, I don't like your answer? Like, what exactly did you want me to say? Like, I don't understand why it's a problem, especially from the Christian perspective. Like, y'all are preaching forgiveness and right, anybody can be redeemed. So if I did make and I put this in quotes, a mistake, I don't think it's a mistake, right? That you should be able to forgive and move forward. I don't understand. And this also, it wasn't just me who experienced this. I have a friend who she had a boyfriend, her and her boyfriend had sex, right? Then the next boyfriend that she broke up with him because his family was racist. And then literally, and the Christians, by the way, like she was Asian, he was white. It was like, anyways. And then, just the next guy that she was dating, like they were, typically we're trying to wait till marriage. But when he found out that she wasn't a virgin, he literally like broke up with her. It's like, you're not pure. Like, I can't be with someone who's not a virgin. Like, sorry. And like, it really distraught her. Like, I remember her being in my dorm room crying about it. Like, I'm not pure. I'm damaged goods. I'm like, that's not like, at the end of the day, girl, again, like we should be able to move, like if there should be forgiveness, right? From their point of view that you can move forward. But like, is the fact that you're going to let someone not being a virgin can be a reason why you don't want to be with them and you're not looking at their character and everything else? Like,
yeah, no, that's complete bullshit. I've had a couple of experiences. I remember I was in middle school and so I would, obviously fantasize about being sexually active. That was not going to be in the cards for me. and I was completely afraid that if I did, I'd go to hell. But I remember being at a Christian meeting, and there was a girl there who had done things with the guy's hands, right? And that he'd been inside her with his fingers. And so, and of course, when he finished, he told his friends, who told their friends. And this was the second time that had happened to her, where that they had sort of had that kind of fun. And then, it had been told to other people. And and she was part of this Christian group. And I remember, I thought she was pretty, and I thought, maybe I should ask her out. Could I get my friend to ask her friend to ask her to see if she liked me, and then tell, that whole middle school romance thing.
Yeah.
And when I said that to my friend, he was like, oh, she's kind of a slut. And I was like, what are you talking about? Then he recounted in detail these two stories that had gone around. And I don't know, I was just completely oblivious to it. And when he told me that, I was like, oh, well, no, I can't. I don't want to go out with her. Right.
Yeah.
And again, the guys who were participating in that, with her, I didn't think bad about them. I had fantasized about being able to do that. And but the thing is this has this like deep roots, right? This isn't something that just was born out of evangelicalism in the 1800s and 1900s and 20th century or in 2000s, right? Like this goes back a long way and is in all kinds of different cultures, right?
Yeah. No, it definitely does. I mean, I'm reading a book that I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago. It's the book Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. She has a PhD in kind of like in health behavior, and she talks about kind of the social aspects of like all of virginity and how, biologically there are no implications. But yeah, as a society, we have kind of weaponized this against women, virginity and whatnot, which it's just sad to see. Like this does go across cultures. And actually, I was even thinking, this isn't something exclusive to the United States. I think this is No, it's not. And I had a thought when you shared your story, and a lot of music and I will talk about my culture and Dominican culture. A lot of it's very, machista heavy, man conquering a woman and trying to be with her. But there's a specific phrase that is said a lot in bachata music, which I love. And it's cuando te hice mujer, which means when I made you a woman. And they're referring to when they literally had sex with her, they made her a woman. It's like my womanness is defined by whether or not I was penetrated by a man.
Yeah. And that will bestow upon you womanhood.
Yeah. Like what? Yeah. It's just such, and like, I'm listening to the song, singing these lyrics. I'm like, hold on.
Whoa. Yeah. Back up. Like, wait, what did I just say?
Yeah, and I'm like, this is actually terrible. These are like, I love the music, but like the ideologies are awful that they're singing about. And I'm like, this is so embedded in like, again, not just American culture. This is in Hispanic culture. This is like, you can see it.
Yeah, and this is all up in the Bible, right?
Yes.
So, the Bible is in a very patriarchal, very misogynistic culture. The men have all of the power, all of the money, all of the influence, all of the resources, right? And one of the ways that is maintained in a patriarchal culture is by having a number of different ways, structurally, a number of different ideals that keep women subjugated and submissive to men. One of those is that they can't own things. Another one is that the inheritance passes from a man to another man, right? And so there's all these systems, and one of these systems is virginity, because this idea is is that she needs to be pure for her husband. So, and really there's a sense of also like paternity, like this is his child because, all of that. And that if she, is not a virgin, then she has exercised, some agency, or allowed. Obviously, it's always talked about as allowing that to happen to you. And that has to be nipped in the bud, right? And so there's all of these myths, all of these rules. And when you look at the Bible, you'll find this prohibition against women having sex. The interesting thing is there is not the same kind of values expressed towards men because, again, it's a patriarchal society. And so the men have all the power, all the permission, all the freedom, all of the agency. And what blows my mind, Gabby, is that like I think, by and large, I think the vast majority of people would see misogyny and the patriarchy as negative. We don't want to live in an oppressive patriarchal society. So we allow women to own property, right? We allow women to vote. We allow women have all of these same rights as men. And to suggest that a woman would not be allowed to vote, right? Or to be like, oh, she's one of those voting women. You don't want to be around her, right? Like that would be so horrible. Everybody would just smack those people upside the head because we are undoing the patriarchy. But somehow we want to take this weird virginity value that was part of the patriarchal system and bring it forward. And not bring it forward. It's continued. It's been pervasive from then all the way until now.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying it'd be terrible to have those ideologies, but I feel like we're kind of regressing a bit. I mean,
we are.
You said it'd be terrible for women not to want to vote, but I know that they are trying to go backwards, right? Take away mail-in voting and all of this stuff. And I'm not even trying to get political on here, but I think all of that has to do with these ideologies of patriarchy that are fueled by Christianity. And we know that this country is very right-wing, right? Like I think a lot of it is fueled from Christianity and these ideas, conservative Christianity.
Yeah. Well, it's fundamental. That's Christian nationalism. I mean, like we're at the bottommost level when we're talking about this.
And it's just like, because you would think in the 21st century, after all of this research and education and just bettering ourselves and the universe with knowledge, that we would have moved away from such silly notions of things constructed such as virginity. It's just crazy for you people to even think about how this is socially constructed because of how ingrained it is and the way that we function, the way that we do gender performativity and all of these things. Like, this has no meaning. And people are feeling, and like me, had shame around having sex, which is very normal.
Yes. And, and I remember one pastor saying that you don't even just have to go to the Bible, that God has placed the value of virginity in the body itself.
Oh, please.
And he was talking about the hymen, right?
Oh, Lord.
And, which... Okay, you've got this book. I want to talk about this, but I want an actual qualified person to state this for us because it is just not true. And that is like really, I think is important, especially for people who are deconstructing, who are trying to heal from this, to realize that the biology is also a complete fabrication that is sort of underscored to control women.
Yeah, it's really important because I feel like virginity and hymen are so closely linked. And again, the name of this book is Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. It's a great book for deconstructing all the terrible ideology we have around sex and how to have a healthy sex life. But in the first chapter, she really does talk about the anatomy and understanding our own bodies, men and women, or biological men and women. But she has a whole section on hymen truths. And I want to start off with one thing that already shook me because I didn't this is news to me. She says, but the hymen doesn't break and stay broken forever, like some kind of freshness seal.
Oh
right?
my gosh, freshness seal. That is exactly what it is treated like.
Yes. As if you you penetrated it and that's it. Your seal is broken and you're done.
Oh my Lord.
And she says if a hymen tears or bruises, it heals. Which news to me. I didn't know it heals, right?
Yeah.
And the size of a hymen doesn't vary depending on whether the vagina has been penetrated, right? And it usually doesn't bleed. Another myth that was taught to me, like, oh, you bleed and you're broken and that's it. You were, And she said, a lot of times, like first penetration, if there is bleeding, it's a lack of lubrication, then a damage to the hymen. It doesn't get damaged. Then she goes on to talk a little bit more, and I want to read this little section. She says, sorry, I'm trying to get the section yet. Yes. She says, the hymen is a profound example of the way humans metaphorize anatomy. Right? Here is an organ that has no biological function, and yet Western culture made up a powerful story about the hymen a long time ago. This story has nothing to do with biology and everything to do with controlling women.
Yep.
Culture saw a barrier, quotes barrier, at the mouth of the vagina and decided it was a marker of, quote, virginity, itself a biologically meaningless idea. Such a weird idea could have been invented only in a society where women were literally property, their vaginas, their most valuable real estate, a gated community.
A gated community. What?
Yeah, literally.
Oh my gosh. That brings so much weight. This whole, oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's good. And it's another really good section. And she goes on to say, even though the hymen performs no physical or biological function, many cultures have created myths around the hymen so profound that there are actually surgeries available to, quotes, reconstruct the hymen as if it were a medical necessity. Yes.
It
and then she goes,
itself.
yes, it's crazy that there are surgeries over that to me is a lack of understanding anatomy and biology.
Well, and probably these doctors went to school. They probably know this about the hymen, and yet they ignore the medicine and the biology to underscore people's just completely erroneous beliefs.
Yes, right? And to probably appease society and probably at the end of the day make money. I mean,
yeah, oh yes, for sure. There's always money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I always thought that when I was growing up that it was like you said, it's a seal. In fact, that like if some sperm got in there from some other way, that the person wouldn't get pregnant. That's actually not true either. There's an opening. There's different sizes and shapes of openings. And, and it doesn't operate that way, which I like because all of this stuff, the way that it was talked about in my church world was just, it doesn't reflect the biological reality.
No. And she goes on, I didn't read this section, but she said, not every woman is born with a hymen, actually. It actually varies, right? So it was taught to me that every woman has this and everyone will experience this, that if you get penetrated, that's it. You bleed and you broke your seal. You're done. Yep, you're not a virgin anymore. Yeah. And, going back to like the gender stuff, after I read that line about the surgeries being done as if it were medical necessary, she says, where's the surgery to perfect men's nipples? I mean, everything. Did you know
also
this?
Completely useless part of the body, right?
Right. Completely useless. This makes me think about, do you know how like erectile dysfunction is like 5 times more researched than like women's health stuff?
No, of course.
It's just like constantly like prioritizing like men and their and stuff that will benefit men, right? We do these reconstruction surgeries. Why? So that men, I guess, can have a fresh hymen to penetrate into or whatever.
Oh my gosh. Can you?
Yeah.
It's awful.
This also makes you think about the husband stitch. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
What is this?
So this was happening a lot in early 1900s, and some doctors might still do this. But after a woman gives vaginal birth, a lot of times they will stitch like your, I don't know, it's called your hole
because
tighter.
They have to do an episiotomy usually, which is like to cut it so that it doesn't tear.
Right.
And so then they have to stitch that cut close.
Yeah. And they'll sometimes ask the husband, hey, do you want us to stitch it back tighter? And a lot of times I'll just say yes.
I know people that have heard that.
Yeah.
And that have been told by the doctor, I'm going to make this fresh or something like that, or ask that same thing. The husband, not the wife.
Not the wife, not the one who's getting the actual stitching done too. We're not going to ask.
Makes it painful the first time after. Oh my gosh. It's wild.
It's terrible.
It's horrible.
I literally, this reminds me again, I just saw a picture on TikTok and it was like the people who were sitting at a meeting about women's health and it was all white men. This was recently, about today.
Yeah.
It's like, why are we constantly having men make decisions, men deciding the ideologies that are out there about women's health, and unqualified, not educated men don't know anything about the way things work. Like, it's time for women to make decisions about their own body, decide the ideologies are out there.
Right.
Like,
and you know what is interesting? And so I can tell you that this was talked about on the side of all of this in the evangelical culture. So, it's really common for men to have this sort of body issues, shame around their body, around the size of their penis, right? And worried about that, concerned about that. And one of the things that was said is like, and if she's a virgin, then she can't compare you to somebody else. She can't compare yours to another one. And couldn't compare how good you are at having sex to how good somebody else was having sex, which makes it easier and better for you as a couple, but really not better for you as a couple, better for you as a man.
I'm getting triggered listening to this because I literally have a friend who I would consider him a conservative Christian, who literally said that the reason why they wanted someone who was, who was a virgin was because then, I can't have someone comparing me to somebody else and think I'm worse. I'm just like, mind you, this person a couple months later ended up having sex and still had the ideology of wanting to be with someone who was pure, even though he was going around having sex with other women, which I don't care if you do, but then that's very hypocritical of you to be like, well, I want someone who's pure. You're out here. Like, I don't understand. This is like
so awful. So,
it's terrible.
I think part of the reason it's important for us to have this conversation is because we are people that form narratives, and this stuff gets like deep in us, and hearing the debunking, hearing this kind of stuff, like, this is important. Even if you know it, it's important to hear it again, because this stuff was planted so deep that it keeps coming up. I don't know if it does for you, but it does for me. And I'm 40 something, right? It's way less now than it was before. That's why having these conversations is really important. And it's one of the things that I really love about our Not Church community. We actually have a whole area where we talk about purity culture and people processing this kind of stuff together. This is like a faith community of people who, most of whom don't go to church, but they care about God. And so we process our religious history. We talk about beliefs, and practices, and we're there for each other in really hard times. We've had a lot of people struggling with some mental health issues, and, obviously they're in therapy, but you also need a community to support you. And that's been happening. And all of that is in this spiritual community where people aren't judging you because you don't believe the right things and telling you you're going to hell. And I think people listening to this podcast, especially if it would be helpful to have a community that would process with you. Not Church is great. And the way you do it is you go to patreon.com/skepticpastor. patreon.com/skepticpastor. It's $3 a month, because we don't ask for donations, and so we ask just people to pay for what they get. If it doesn't work for you, just stop paying. And if you can't swing $3, you can just send me a message and we'll try to get you in for free. We're going to have a little fun segment here at the end, but before we get there, what do you have to say to somebody who is sort of just coming out of this, right? Who is trying to begin to shift their perspective? What would you say to your friend or someone who's in that place?
No, that's a great question. And I think the phrase that just came up as soon as you asked that was let yourself feel. And the reason why I say that is because I was so restricted by fundamentalist Christian ideologies that I wouldn't let myself feel what's normal. I wouldn't let myself have a crush on the forbidden person, the Hindu person, the atheist person. I wouldn't let myself feel good about my body, right? Because this body's it's always about how we need to be dead to our flesh and this body has no good, right? But actually it is good, right? If you have a body, like even being grateful that it works the way that it does, and you are able to feel things, like let yourself feel that. Like it's okay, like it can feel scary. Have that crush. Touch yourself if you need to. Go have sex if you want to. Like, I'm just like, nothing will happen to you. If anything, like you are able to just be in tune with yourself and like what you need. And the more that you let go of restricted behaviors, the more you'll be comfortable with yourself and kind of understand like you at a different point of view. And that's okay.
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay. So we're going to share a couple of memes with each other. That's also something we do in Not Church. We've got a whole section just for sharing memes. I will go first. So we're going to have to, we know this is audio, so we're going to have to describe what it looks like and then we'll tell you the words. So this is a picture of Dwight Schrute from The Office, like, making a face. Gabby, how would you describe this face?
It's kind of like the emoji where it's like a side smirk and it's
like
kind of
side smirk. That's good. It's a side smirk. And so what the text is, me thinking I lost everything in life. And then it says my virginity, : and then it's him smirking like I'd lose everything.
Right. No, that's a funny one. I actually had two in mind, and they're ones that I see. I still, unfortunately, my Instagram has still like Christian pages that I follow, and the memes are still funny. Two that I'm thinking about. So one is like it'll be like, oh, the morning after the newlyweds just got married, and like it's like a picture of a church, like everyone's looking back, like knowing, like we know what you just did last night. That's like everyone knows you pull up to church next day, like, all right, well, they know the deed was done. Which, why are you so obsessed with sex? Anyways, next meme. The next meme is, I always see this. So it'll be like, oh, it's a reel usually. And like, oh, me and my wife or me and my husband on, we just got married. Like finally they're waiting till marriage and they're like about to, get started, about to have sex. And then it like you hear a trumpet sound and it's like, oh, the rapture hits and like they don't get serious. And like, oh, we got raptured up before we could do it.
That combines two toxic theology pieces right together. I love that.
I'm just like, okay,
That's good. Okay, I've got this one. It's a picture from a yearbook with a sort of quote underneath it. It's a picture of a sort of nerdy kid. To be honest, it could have been my yearbook picture when I look at it, right? But it says, underneath it says, I haven't lost my virginity because I never lose.
I'm dead. I love it. No, that's so good.
Do you have any more?
I was trying to think if there was.
Okay, I've got one more.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is again, sort of a nerdy kid. It looks like me and my friends growing up. And it says, I didn't choose the virgin life. The virgin life chose me.
I love it. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, there's so many good ones about Virgin. I always see them and chuckle. I'm like, okay.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening. Wherever you're listening to the Unbelief podcast, rate us, give us all the stars. And actually, this is one of those episodes that I'd say, please share this with somebody. There are people that could really use this information and this processing. And so click however you share it, wherever it is, share this with a friend, and help somebody else.
That's it. That's the podcast. Shout out to the Choir Network, to Patheos, to Matthew and Keith, who make everything happen. Now, get out of here. Go do something to make the world a better place. Okay? We'll see you next time.